So it's required to have, like, you have to have a lot of mobility in that external rotation. So what poses can you see how much flexibility they have in shoulder flexion? Gomukhasana, what else? Downward facing dog. Why do you think we do down dog all the time? Because down dog is a preparation. Okay, so preparatory poses. What are preparatory poses? Preparatory poses are poses that prepare you to do the peak pose, whatever the harder pose is. So what poses are going to prepare you to do handstand? Well, downward dog is like number one on that list. Right? What are some of your other, because what are you looking for in down dog? Let's talk about the roundedness of the back. Okay? If somebody's really tight in their shoulders or their upper back, what's it going to look like in down dog? Yeah, exactly. They're going to kind of like look like that. Is that somebody that's ready to go into handstand? No. Right, or even headstand? No way. So you wouldn't even take that person into that pose. They'd be working with down dog and they'd be working with probably dolphin, right? The preparation for a while until that developed, both the flexibility and also the strength. So plank pose. Plank pose is a good pose to determine what?
Core support.
Yeah, core support and strength. Just see, like, you put somebody in plank pose, how long can they hold it there without like collapsing? Or chaturanga, how long can you hold chaturanga without collapsing? But these are the preparatory poses, everybody. That's what, like in the sun salutation, that's why we do the sun salutation at the very beginning of class. One of the reasons we do it at the very beginning of class is because there's a lot of preparatory poses in the sun salutation that prepare and warm up the body for some of these more advanced poses. Okay? Okay, is this making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, good. So component parts and preparatory poses. These are all part of sequencing, good sequencing. Understanding what the component parts are of whatever your peak pose is, or the hardest part of the class. And then what are the poses that are going to prepare you to do that? Okay, now let's go back to last week again. We talked about, there were certain rules to sequencing, right? One of the rules was easier before harder. So if we're talking about handstand, give me an easier pose that would prepare you for handstand. Like that kind of looks like handstand, but it's easier than handstand. Yeah. Down dog. Just good old down dog. Our friend downward facing dog. Okay? What else? Easier than handstand, kind of looks like handstand preparation. It can be anything. It can be standing plank. It doesn't mean the plank pose is easy. It just means that it's easier than handstand. So when you're sequencing, these poses that are easier have to go before, obviously. So that's, part. So you already have plank pose built into your sun citation, right? So you don't have to worry about that. Can you think of some other poses? What are some other? Virabhadrasana 3.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Yeah, you're right. We did that today. Okay. Okay, good. It's easier than handstand. It's hard. Virabhadrasana 3 is hard. How easy was that against the wall? Not very easy, right? That was hard. It was harder doing it against the wall, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's harder doing these poses against the wall than in the center of the room because it keeps you honest. Right? You can't really cheat, right? It's like, you can right, if you're in the center of the room, like your back can be doing whatever it wants to do, but if it's up against the wall like that, you really can't cheat very much. Okay? What else? Virabhadrasana 1. Yeah. Okay, so I think you're getting it. Yeah.
I just have a general sequencing question. So if you're walking into, let's say you're teaching at a gym or something, there's one of these situations where it's an open level class, and you've got a bunch of people you've never met before, never taught before. They walk in the room, they all get on their mats. What would be a couple of really good poses to put in early on so that you can gauge where as a group these people are? Do you know what I mean? Like just some general things to look at. Because it says your level of students, you can assess them in the first posture. So
Yeah,
Just
where
still
is that? Yeah. Where was that you're reading?
right here and creating a
Oh,
consideration to
yeah.
right. So you have to assess a class and it's not based on the level.
Downward facing dog. That's why we do downward facing. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a really, downward facing dog is a really good assessment for a lot of things.
Okay.
Almost like for a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm just looking for a good general early.
It's a really
assessment
good,
of
yeah, that's why we, do you notice how we do that a lot at the beginning of
Yeah,
class? Like then we go to
plank,
child pose, the
yeah.
downward dog, the plank. Downward dog is really great for assessing arm strength. It's really great for assessing flexibility of the arm and the shoulder, flexibility in the hamstrings.
So I think sometimes you're gonna have to walk in and you're gonna have to on the fly be like, all right, wait a minute, I was gonna do arm balances, but these people are weak in their arm, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like you kind of have to.
Yeah, so you can still make it really challenging and really hard by like just, doing something like, just like have them, I did this today in my 2-3 class because I was just watching people, because I was doing some inversions and I was like just watching what they were doing in Chaturanga Dandasana. Okay, so instead of going through the sun salutation like we normally do, like plank, Chaturanga, up dog, down dog. I then do plank, Chaturanga, plank, downward dog. Plank, Chaturanga, plank, down dog. Plank, Chaturanga, plank, down dog. Plank, Chaturanga, plank, down dog. Back and forth. Yeah, they hated me. And I was like, wow. But do you know what I mean? But that's how,
So I really could see people collapsing immediately.
yeah, like sometimes you can just break it apart a little bit like that. Like you were talking about the other today, like I was breaking apart some of the things in handstand that almost they weren't easy. They were hard in different ways to develop different strength in your body, right? Yes.
When you guys were first teaching, because I'm just trying to think about like, okay, I can see how you put together a sequence, but then you come to the class, and let's say it's an open level class, and you have to adjust, like, did you have like 3 different sequences planned before you showed up to your first class? Like, how does...
Yeah, I mean, this is just my personal opinion, and especially as a new teacher, that you really plan out your class before you get there. Don't just try to wing it. That takes years of an experience of just being able to walk into a class and come up with something or know what to do based on who's there. Okay, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would really recommend planning out the sequence and like just plan out like one sequence, and then you kind of have to see who's there. And you might you might notice like you're going through the sun salutations and nobody knows how to do Chaturanga Dandasana. Okay, so just fake them out. They don't know. Just pretend you're still like doing like sun salutations. It's like I was doing today. Like you're here, plank pose, hold. Chaturanga Dandasana, hold. Push your shoulder, lift your leg, take your elbow down, push back up to plank pose, hold. Do you know what I mean? And you just keep doing that. And do you know what I mean? So you might have to change up your sequence a little bit when you're there based on like who's there. But it just takes practice and time everybody is teaching. Don't worry about it too much like now. Just plan out your sequence and then listen, not everybody's going to be able to do what you're doing in the class too. That's the other thing. You can't get attached to everybody being able to do it. You have to teach to the general group.
You have to teach to the middle of the room.
Teach to the middle of the room, exactly. That's what you have to do. You have to teach to the middle of the room. You can't teach to the person that's the beginner, and you can't teach to the person that's doing flips in the back of the room. Right? You have to teach to the middle of the group. Yes, sure. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, so you have people on different ends of the spectrum in
Yeah.
level class, but you think that the majority, based on what you're seeing, could go up into handstand, but there's a few, based on their, chaturanga, so their downward dogs, that you really don't feel like they should do it. So I guess how would you manage that? Would you kind of leave it up? Because I don't feel like I've ever been in a class where a teacher said, you should do this instead, kind of calling you out and making you think like you can't do it. So I guess how do you manage that to keep them safe, but you want the rest of the room to be able to experience the full pose? Do you leave it up to them and say, if you feel like you're tightening your shoulders, do this instead?
No, that's the worst thing because most people won't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they'll just be like, she doesn't know what she's talking about, and they'll do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. But again, that's kind of something that takes a little time, teaching a long time. So what you want to do is just like we did today, for example. Everybody go to the wall, handstand. not everybody's going to be able to come up with a handstand. That's okay, but at least you're setting everybody up on the same page. Then you as a teacher, your job is to look and see who's struggling and who's having difficulty, and what are they having difficulty with. Oh, this person needs a belt on their arms. It's going to help them a little bit more. Or this person is just really struggling with strength. So go over to them and say, give them like dolphin, or give them plank pose, or give them something else, and another alternative to do to build strength, prior to doing that. Sometimes you just have to like let it go. It's like, it's, if you've got a group full of, like a room full of 50 people, you just, you have to sort of pick and choose your battles, like what you're going to do, but yeah, and the thing is that people you might be looking at them in these poses, like down dog, plank, chaturanga, and you might be like, yeah, they're ready to go up into handstand, and then you get there and they can't actually come up. So it might be something else that's prohibiting them coming up. And one of the biggest prohibitors is fear, actually. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna break my neck. You know what I mean? Or like, they had a fear of falling, or they went upside down one time and they collapsed onto the person next to them, or whatever it is. So it's not a matter of them not being able to do it, but the fear is such a strong prohibitor as well, okay? Did I answer your question at all?
So I guess in that case, like you said, people can start to at least pick up. I'm just thinking in terms of you don't want someone to try something where you feel like you're going to overarch their lower back, or.
But that's the kind of stuff that's going to happen a little bit, and that's okay. And like you can address that, either individually or to the whole class. But and also just encourage people, like, it's not, you don't have to come all the way up, but just to practice the elements of just kicking and just hopping, you know what I mean, in the beginning. Sometimes I'll just stand people up and like have them hop on a leg. Just like that aspect of jumping, like a lot of people have difficulty just jumping or just hopping. So sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll just have people hop, like in class, like on the balls of their feet, because that's actually what you're doing. Is like you're hopping, as like kicking, and like some people just like it's like something's like it's hard, right, to just like hop for some people. Okay, yeah.
If you have a class that's a very familiar group of people and you know what their abilities and limitations are, would you ever say to them, today we're going to work on thus and such, that is the focus of the class, and we're going to take it apart and build it up, so that they, get a little structure in their minds as you go through?
Sometimes that's helpful. It's, every teacher is a little bit different. Some teachers don't like to do that because then they're like, you're focused on that pose the whole class, and you can't think about it. You're so distracted just thinking about that pose. Maybe like teacher says like, we're going to do handstand today, and it's like your biggest fear. And all you can think about the whole time leading up to that is just how afraid you are that like you're going to be going up into handstand in like 20 minutes. So sometimes it's actually really good, and sometimes it can be a barrier. You don't necessarily have to tell people what you're planning or what you're doing. You don't really have to tell them. In fact, sometimes it's probably better not. Just lead them through the class, take them through the class, and the way that you sequence it will be that,